Day everyone. We are the group 4 and we will discuss the holistic welfare state of Sweden. Here are the table of content. First is the introduction by which we discuss by Miss Erica Jane Tanael. Second is the political background that will be discussed by Mr. Jasper Austria and Miss Raisa Shane Hippel. Third is the political culture and participation in Sweden, which will be discussed by Mr. Eugene Elguera. Fourth is the political institution, by which will be discussed by Ms. Sarah Ann Marquez. Fifth is the key political issues or challenges that will be discussed by Ms. Lucialine Maca. And lastly, the evaluation and conclusion that will be discussed by Ms. Phoebe Ann Lorraine Nabat.
Good day, I'm Erica Jane Tanael from BSIS 1-4, and I'm here to tackle the introduction of Sweden's holistic welfare state. So, Sweden's holistic welfare state has been the vision of Swedish Social Democratic Party, or SDP, which was founded in 1899. It was formed by industrial workers as this political party rejected violent revolution, as in Russia, in favor of democratic social reform. Sweden started to build its welfare state in the early 20th century and expanded enormously between 1945 and 1975. It is also often referred to as the Swedish model, to which incorporates the comprehensive approach to the people's well-being and social security. Up to the 1970s, the Swedish model prospered for several reasons. One, the economy of Sweden flourished greatly and steadily during this period. Second, the country of Sweden did not play a part in World War II like the other European countries. Third, Sweden's defense budget is small. And fourth, lastly, they did not have to deal with any immigration problems. That would be
Good day, everyone. Today, I'll be sharing some insights about Sweden political background history. Let's start in prehistoric era around 4,000 years ago. The region that is now Sweden was still covered by thick ice sheets. As the ice receded, humans began to settle, adapting to the harsh northern environment. This was before the age of warfare and the emergence of the Vikings. Then, Stone Age around 8,000 to 6,000 BC. Early inhabitants used simple stone tools and survived through hunting, fishing, and gathering. Archaeological findings show continuous settlement and the presence of developing culture as early as 1800 BC. The next is Bronze Age, 1800 to 500 BC. This period saw the emergence of more advanced tools and an increased level of cultural social complexity. Trade networks began to form and societal structures grew more organized. Iron Age, 600 BC. With the use of iron tools, agriculture improved and the foundation for stable communities and early social hierarchies were laid. Sweden began transitioning into a more structured society. Next is the Viking era, 800 to 1050 AD. Marked by expansion through trade and raiding, Swedish Vikings explored and traded along the Baltic coast reaching as far as the Caspian and Black Seas. They established trade relations with the Arab kingdoms in the Byzantine Empire. Christianity began to spread, reaching Sweden in the 9th century through Ansgar's mission. Next is conversion to a kingdom, 1000 AD. Sweden gradually transitioned into a unified kingdom by the 13th century. Centralized royal power was established under King Magnus Ladulus, who formalized the nobility and adopted a feudal societal structure in 1280. The, in 14th century, trade flourished under the influence of the German Hanseatic League, especially with the port city of Lubeck. However, in 1350, the Black Death severely reduced the population and disrupted economic activity. Next is the foundation of Kalmar Union, 1389 to 1523. The Scandinavian crowns of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden were united under Queen Margareta. The union was formalized in 1397 but collapsed due to internal conflicts by 1523, when Gustav Vasa was elected King of Sweden. Rule of Gustav Vasa, 1523-1560. King Vasa centralized authority, nationalized the church, and initiated the Protestant Reformation. The monarchy became hereditary and Sweden emerged as a structured and independent state. Then the Swedish Empire in 1560 to 1721. Sweden expanded its control over the Baltic region, reaching the height of its power during the Thirty Years' War under Gustav II Adolf. However, by 1721, following the peace by Denmark, Poland, and Russia, Sweden's empire declined. Sweden lost Finland to Russia but gained a new crown prince, Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte. In 1814, Sweden entered into a union with Norway, which lasted until 1905. In the 18th to 20th century, the absolute monarchy ended, and parliamentary governance began. By the early 20th century, Sweden became a leading industrialized nation, remaining neutral in wars since 1814. Sweden joined the League of Nations in 1920 and the United Nations in 1946. It has participated in numerous peacekeeping missions and held the European Union presidency in 2001 and 2009.
The historical context of Sweden. Now, there are six historical developments in Sweden's holistic welfare as a state. First is the late 19th century, where Sweden, as the country, experienced significant industrial growth, particularly in major cities like Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö. This period also saw the rise of strong popular movement, including the free churches, temperance and women's movement, and also the labor movement. Additionally, there are focus on social reforms, including the introduction of universal manhood, suffrage in 1907 for election to the lower house and proportional representation system for both houses. Next is the Sweden 1913. The Sweden experienced an economic golden age. The main political issues concern national defense and suffrage. The emerging labor and women's movement demanded more influence and immigration to American hit record levels. The country also shaken by the dissolution of the union with Norway. After that, here's the 1930s, where Sweden suffered several during the early years of Great Depression. In the early 1930s, the unemployment rose and reduction in wages causes a series of harsh labor conflicts. After that is the post-1960s, where Sweden is characterized by signification
social signification, social, economic, and political development, where the country experienced a surge in left-wing activism, a shift towards a more culturally diverse nation, and a continued expansion of the welfare state. Next is the 1990s. In the 1990s, Sweden was experiencing significant challenges and reforms due to the due to the economic crisis and globalization. The decade saw a restructuring of welfare state with changes made in response to these external factors. While the changes were not drastic in 1990s, are generally considered a period of weakening for the Swedish welfare system. And lastly, the present time where Sweden's welfare state, often considering a model for social justice, offers a comprehensive network of social services funded by high taxes. This system aims to ensure a high quality of life for all citizens, focusing on universal access to education, healthcare, childcare, and housing. The key elements including a progressive tax system, a robust social insurance system, and commitment to social equality.
And so, good day everyone. My name is Eugene Elguera, and I'm about to present to you the political culture and participation in Sweden. So, before that, I'll give you an insight about uh, what's the connection of political culture and participation of Sweden sa holistic welfare state. Um, it places a high value on a public sector service delivery, social solidarity, and census building, has a complex relationship with the political culture and citizen participation, right? Here, the public sector service delivery, it refers on how the government provides service to the citizen and businesses, including the function, essential service, healthcare, and education through effective service, efficient, accessible, and pagiging responsive. Kasi po, ang people ng Sweden ay has a huge factor pagdating sa government. That's why uh, kailangan bigyan din pansin ng government itong mga Sweden people because they are the has a huge factor nga since sila yung mga actors in the government. And second, the social solidarity, unity are and shared purpose that binds individual within group or society. Ini-emphasize po dito yung cooperation, interconnectedness, support, and stability. With that, yung mga people or group, peers or NGOs, something like that, they are, if they are sharing one goal, um, pag meron po silang goal, a certain goal na gustong gawin, they are cooperate with the other group to formulate their goals. And then sunod po yung consensus building. Ito po ay a process where a group collaborates to reach agreement, like discussing idea and finding solution. So dito naman po ay kagaya karuktong po ng social solidarity kapag may mga grupo sa Sweden people or anything na meron po silang nagsisik sila ng solution problems, hindi po nila to ginagawa by themselves bagkus naghahanap po sila ng nagpo-form po sila ng group or naghanap sila ng group na may ganito ring pag-iisip or goal to discuss and find the answers. Yun yun po. And then this method which is rooted in social democratic ideology influence how people participate in public as well as on how government decision making and organized. Iyon po. Since ito po mga Sweden people, they are they are all involved in this. Sila po ay sobrang active nila pagdating sa government. Pinaprioritize din ng government to ang dealing nila sa mga people. And sa Sweden po, they believe in high democratic value, high level of participation in society. Kasi nga po, yun nga, I said, yung mga people nga po ay sobrang active nila sa yung mga Sweden people, media, sa government, sa politics, or anything. Binibigyan din po dito yung mga ng government, yung mga tao. Sabi pa dito, the nations encourage active citizen participation equally and political based on consensus. Strong voters, turnout, thriving civil society, and rising digital engagement all contribute to the Sweden exceptionally high level of political participation, which reflects. And then, sa pamamagitan po nito, nagre-reflect po yung mga ginagawa ng mga tao sa Sweden sa kanilang government mismo. And I'm going to discuss the political culture of Sweden. And number one, the democratic and egalitarian values. Dito po, sinasabi na noon pa man ang Sweden po ay democratic governance na pinaprioritize po nila yung social welfare, equality, and individual rights. And then dito rin po ine-emphasize yung syempre this government nire-represent po nila yung mga gender equality, yung pagiging frequent nila, and yung interconnection po ng mga tao sa sa kanilang government. Sunod po yung high trust in institution, since yung mga tao po sa Sweden sobrang active po nila pagdating sa government. In general, Swedes have a high degree of faith in the media, the legal system, and government institution. Ayun po yun. Being said, yung mga tao sa Sweden, they are all rely in these platforms, since active nga sila, dito sila kumukuha ng information regarding sa kanilang government, and ganoon din po yung ginagawa ng government sa mga tao sa Sweden. Next po ay yung consensus oriented politics. Constitution, government, and cooperative decision making are prepared Sweden's political environment. So ito po ay compromise ng government to support yung mga Sweden's people, since sila po ay major actors sa Sweden. Susunod po ay yung political participation in Sweden naman po. Ang number 1 po dito yung high voters turnout. Ayun. Mapapansin po natin dito ay year by year nagbabago po yung turnouts ng mga voters, since mga active nga po yung tao sa Sweden. Nagbabago po yung nila, yung turnouts, voters turnout. Pero hindi naman po ibig sabihin nun na although bumababa ito and then tumataas, hindi po ibig sabihin nun na yung mga people sa Sweden ay hindi po sila active. Bagkus kabaliktaran po, sobrang nagpa-participate po sila sa ganitong bagay, since po sila ay democratic. Sunod po ay active civil society with significant involvement in labor unions, non-government organization, and other civil association. Ayun po. Here, yung mga tao po na they usually participate sa mga gantong programa, lalo na po sila rin po ay nagbe-benefit, and then yung mga organization po ay meron pong crucial role para sa Sweden, since ang ginagawa po nila ay interconnection po sa mga tao. Meron po silang major role to shape these people, na merong ideas, meron po silang ginagawa, and then so on. And last one po yung digital participation. Ito po, sobrang yung politically influence po ng government sa tao ay sobrang lumaganap na. And the role of digital platforms in Sweden political involvement has grown. Ito po, sa mga may mga different platforms na po na involved dito, yung media campaigns and online debates or anything, no? Which is nabibigyan po ng idea or insight yung mga tao sa Sweden regarding po sa kanilang government. And that's all. uh, that's all sa may aking discussion. Bye.
Institution of Sweden. We'll start with the executive. Sweden is a ceremonial king, but the real power lies with the prime minister who leads the government. The prime minister is chosen by the speaker of parliament and stay in office as long as they have the support of Riksdag. This institution handles the country, enforces law, and managing foreign affairs. Second is the legislative. The Riksdag is the Sweden's parliament. It has 349 members elected every 4 years. This institution makes laws, approve the national budget, and check the work of the Prime Minister and the cabinet itself. And they also hold the executive accountable. And also, I want to add, they have the party-based system. Seats are allocated based on the shared votes. Third is the judiciary. Sweden's judiciary operates independently from politics. It includes courts that handle both legal and administrative cases. Judges are appointed by the government but cannot be easily removed, keeping them free from the political pressure. And lastly, we have bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is a government of the Sweden. Bureaucracy. Sweden has a well-organized and honest bureaucracy. Government employees are chosen based on skills, not politics, which ensures the reliability, public service like healthcare, education, and social welfare. Thank you.
Let us proceed to key political issues or challenges of Sweden holistic welfare. There are multiple issues or challenges that Sweden is facing throughout the years, and I chose two major problems, and these are lack of integration policy under the ethnic religious conflict and the impact of voting patterns on government policies under electoral reforms. In ethnic religious conflict, lack of integration policy. For everyone's enlightenment, a lack of integration in policy means that different policies, sectors, or levels of government are not effectively working together to achieve a common goal or address a complex problem. In Sweden, they are facing challenges with security issues, especially in neighborhoods with many immigrants who don't speak their language or who don't speak Swedish or have a jobs. The main cause of the crisis is the open door migration policy, where too many people come without plans to help them fit in the country, in Sweden. And due to these issues, entrepreneurial people are leaving the country and making it hard for businesses to find smart workers or those skilled workers. And in addition, the schools are also struggling and the crime is also a concern. Let us proceed through electoral reforms. Impact of voting patterns on government policies. If you guys are wondering what is electoral reforms, from the word itself, reforms, these are the changes or improvements made to the way people vote in elections, and it affects the impact of voting patterns on government policies. So first, Swedes or people in Sweden have dissatisfaction with current policies on crime, and the economy and immigration has affected voting behavior. With more radical parties means advocating groups, with more radical parties gaining support. Second, this shift in public sentiment puts pressure on the current government to respond accordingly, leading to policy changes. And lastly, the problems are these reforms could affect the stability of the political system and the welfare state model in Sweden. So, these are the two major problems of Sweden's holistic welfare: the lack of integration policy under ethnic or religious conflict, and the impact of voting patterns on government policies under electoral reforms. So, these two major problems have significant implications for the holistic welfare system of Sweden, as they directly impact both the financial viability and the social cohesion of Swedish society.
The system has long been recognized for its stability, high civic engagement, and strong institutional foundations. These elements have supported the success of the Swedish welfare model, which from the post-World War II era through the 1970s enabled the country to achieve significant levels of equality, social security, and economic stability. However, recent developments have begun to challenge this ideal. Issues such as inadequate immigrant integration, rising ethnic tensions, and increasing strain on public services have exposed weaknesses in the system. Political fragmentation, growing support for extreme parties, and declining trust in traditional political blocs reflect a broader shift in society and public confidence in institutional competence. Furthermore, Sweden struggles with immigration, education, and social unity underscore the need for the welfare state to adapt to changing demographics and global pressures. The failure to effectively integrate immigrants has led to social isolation, higher crime rates in certain areas, and a noticeable decline in education standards. Outcomes that contradict the core principles of the Swedish model. The rise of private health insurance and pension funds also indicates a move away from universal welfare ideals. Despite these challenges, Sweden remains a functioning democracy with resilient institutions. However, to preserve the essence of the Swedish model, there is an urgent need for coherent policies on integration, equitable access to public services, and leadership that can rebuild public trust through transparency and effectiveness. Without these reforms, Sweden risks deeper political divisions and gradual erosion of a welfare state that has long been a source of national pride.